Good morning. Welcome. This is our 72nd Coffee with the Commissioner. It's 6:32 a.m. and we've got a very important discussion this morning. We're going to talk about something that's vitally important to a lot of citizens in our community, particularly those that live in the downtown area, and that's mass transit. We're delighted this morning to have the Director of Mass Transit with us on the coffee, Mr. Rodriguez Kimbrough. Welcome. Good morning to you. Thank you for being here, sir.
Hey, good morning. Thank you so much for having me this morning, Commissioner.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to our discussion and the questions we discussed earlier before we started are make for a great conversation. Of course, we also have our administrator, Wes Marino, is here this morning. We also have Eric Gilmore from Public Safety. So we're going to talk about a lot of different county issues first, and we'll get into the topic of mass transit. But what we like to do typically is we hear from our county administrator, Wes Marino. So good morning, Wes. Again, thank you for being here, and I'm looking forward to your update. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Commissioners. Good to be here. As you well know, there's a lot of things going on in Escambia County right now. One of the biggest issues that we're neck deep in is budget. So all the departments are going through their budget. They're preparing their budgets. There's been several meetings with Stephen Hall. I know that you've had and some issues you've been working, and I had some meetings with him yesterday on some things, and he and I meet pretty regularly to talk about the budget. It's a big thing going on right now. The other thing is, as always, and we'll talk about hiring. We did make 45 new hires in the last month. And so we're starting to see a few applications, and that's good news. I know Mr. Rodriguez is looking for a deputy director, and I think he's been setting up some interviews and doing that. Corrections is seeing a lot of activity. Really, facilities all around is seeing a lot of activity, except for our CDL drivers. There's still an issue there that we're working through. We're going to run some analysis there and looking through that. We have a lot of projects. We just broke ground on the Beulah Fire Station last Friday. That was a big deal, a good event.
That was.
And we're going to close out the Bellevue Library here in the next, hopefully 90 days, hopefully soon, but certainly within then. That's a good project for us. Longleaf is going to purchasing pretty quickly.
Yes.
That's a good project there in District 1. And we have several projects. We're rolling into the heat of the season out on the beach. Last weekend we had 22,900 cars go through the toll booth on Saturday or Sunday. That is a record. That is a big deal. And I will say that the traffic, the improvements that we've made out there on the beach, is the traffic perfect? It's never going to be perfect, but I believe it is certainly a lot better than it was a couple of years ago. And so we're continuing to look at that and make improvements. The beach ball is being painted. If you go out to the beach, you're going to see that underway. It's almost done, should be done within the next 30 days, 25 days, something like that. It's going to look fantastic. We're making the improvements at Park West and Park East, and you got the new access road that's underway or that's completed and being utilized. Got new restaurants opening up on the boardwalk, which doesn't have anything to do with the county, but it's great to see that activity out there for our local economy and for the residents and tourists as well. And it's just a lot of good things going on. I always say that. I'm always optimistic because it's easy to find one little negative thing, but you got to look at all the big things, all the good things that go on. You got to keep pushing forward, and that's what we're going to do. And we have our labor relations manager, Nikki Powell's on board with us now. She is forming relationships with the high school. She was at Pine Forest High School yesterday afternoon, giving a recruitment speech to some of the seniors, and she's working to get in West Florida. She's also working to get into some of the Santa Rosa County schools and Pensacola State College. So having her on board is going to be a huge asset for us, and I'm really optimistic to see how she forms that position and how she really goes to work and recruits and brings in some of those young folks and older folks as well. But a lot of good things, just a lot of good things. And next week we have another board meeting. They roll one behind the other. What a lot of people don't realize is to get a board recommendation to the board, it's about a month-long process, because when we're having that board meeting, the following Friday after the board meeting is usually the deadline to have all your recommendations in for the next board meeting that's 2 weeks away.
Right.
So it goes through, it goes through budget, it goes through legal, goes through some of the department directors, goes through assistant administrators, goes through me. So I feel like I spend a lot of time reading board recommendations. It's a never ending cycle, but it is an iteration to get an item in front of the board. And so I appreciate all the hard work in the departments. I appreciate the hard work of all the reviewers that it has to go through. And it takes a lot to get county business done. It really does. But that's for you this morning.
Right on. Well, you're absolutely right. There's so much positive going on. And as it pertains to the beach, I've had the opportunity to spend some time out there doing some maintenance on some property out there that my wife and I own. And driving through that traffic, it moves much more smoothly than it ever had before. Just a few short years ago, you were stopping, people were asking for change, and the board made that tough decision, which was kind of unpopular, to just go cashless, and that was a big help to getting out there. But that second lane on the left, where people would hang out looking for parking, and then the hot right going Fort Pickens Road, just fantastic. Improvement. Fantastic. The problem that you have now is some people get in that hot right and then they try and cut back over. That's human nature. You can't stop them from doing that, but you're absolutely right. Hey, the question I think that I have, Wes, on that, and you may not know the answer, but I would like to know. I had meant to lean over and ask Commissioner Bender, because I know he follows it very closely, being in his district. But now that we've gone cashless and we don't have those the toll takers and the SunPass employees there, how are our collections? I finally broke down about one of those transponders. Just makes things easier going back and forth out there. But prior to that, I would write the check. I was old school and send it in, when the bill. But how are our collections looking out there compared to? I know with cash in the till, it was right there. But are we getting all our money?
I believe we are, Commissioner. I honestly, I would have to look into that and see. That's a question I've not really asked most recently, but I would have to believe that we are doing very well, especially when you put 23,000 cars through the toll booth in a day. I would have to believe that we're doing very well, but it's something I'll certainly check into.
Thank you. Yeah. I'd like to know that, because I know they get my money right away. I mean, every couple of days I get another notification. Okay, we need another $10. Bang, they take it right out of your account. It is a.
You got to buy that annual pass, Commissioner.
Well, I mean, I only. How much is it? I probably should. But now, not just anyone can buy it. Don't you have to be a full-time resident out there to get that deal?
No, you go out, you do have to have SunPass, but then you go to the Island Authority, buy your annual pass. It links to your SunPass, and you have unlimited trips out there for the next year.
Can I do it for multiple cars, or is it just one car? One per car.
Well, I think it's one per car.
Okay. I might have to look into that. I probably should look into that. But meanwhile, it is pretty convenient the other way, just not having to stop, not having to put I remember in high school, they had the baskets. Remember the baskets? You throw the 35 cents. You remember that, Eric?
Yep. 35 cents.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay. Yeah. Lots of good stuff out there. Lots of good stuff. And I want to thank both you gentlemen for taking time out of your schedule Friday to be at that groundbreaking. I know that the weather didn't cooperate, but that was a really great ceremony, and I was appreciative of all the fire personnel that made time to show up, and for you guys, and for Chief Catronbone for being there and giving some words. I know it meant a lot to the family. We're going to get another signed proclamation. We're working on that right now for Chief Bradshaw's wife. We gave one to Chief Bradshaw's father, and we're going to get one for his wife as well. But I can't wait for that facility to be completed, and I just appreciate you guys being there. That was another great day. The library tour also, I don't know if we talked about that since our last coffee, but that was very informative, finding out about all the theft that site has had to, absorb. It's really sad to hear about, the theft of $10,000 worth of equipment, another $5,000 worth of metal, product that was going to be needed for the library. I mean, it's sad. It's a reality out there, but that is one of the reasons for the delays. People online, I've asked a lot of questions about that, about why the delays, and material. It's hard enough with the supply chain, and then you've got people stealing, these long lead time items. I remember I was speaking to one of the construction guys. He goes, "Yeah, these pipes, they thought they were copper, He goes, they weren't copper. They were length of something else. He goes, but they were long lead time items, and now we got to reorder them, and they're not worth. I mean, he told me he said the grand total of it was worth $800. He goes, they stole all our stuff, and now it's going to cost us a month. So, just for the citizens who are wondering why that library is not open yet, when you got people, I think, what is it, 7 times they've stole from.
Seven times.
It's horrible. And of course, security guard, I asked the guy, I said, why can't you get a security guard? And he goes, well, that's very cost prohibitive, to pay someone full time. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, hopefully they catch the people who stole and prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. Let's see. Eric, okay, well, hey, we'll segue into public safety. I had a long discussion with Stefan in my office yesterday. We've been meeting multiple times, and I appreciate all his hard work. He's a great guy, just a great asset to the county, even more so now after having served at the city, because he's brought me up to speed on some things about the sheriff's MSTU and different things that I had certain ideas, and he educated me on, on why things are the way they are and what we should do and what we shouldn't do. But one of the discussions we're going to have tomorrow at the committee of the whole, and I think it's, it's going to be somewhat contentious, is this the idea of the increasing the MSBU. Can you discuss a little bit about why you think that's necessary now, Eric?
Yeah, no problem. So, fire is funded from general revenue, as we all know, and they collect the MSBU. So $125 per household is what we do for residential. We have seen exponential growth in the county, and we know that our fire services, while they're maintaining and they're catching the calls and everything, we still have, and we're not talking capital. This is just manpower to catch the calls. This is stations to be out there for the guys to stay in, the apparatus that they come on, that they arrive in the scene on. But when you look at Escambia County and you understand that Escambia County is a countywide fire-based system, unlike other counties who have independent fire districts, such as Pace,
Santa Rosa,
Navarre. Yeah, you got a lot of independent districts that they collect their own taxable, their revenue, and while they generate $5 million, that's enough for that little area. We're a county-wide, so we have 22 independent buildings. So when you figure there's 22 independent buildings that need maintaining, servicing, and equipment and equipping, and then all the apparatus that we have and all the manpower we have, it is a pretty hefty price tag at the end of the day. It really is. We understand that, and the cost is not going down. We're buying engines now. We used to buy engines, high-end fire apparatus ready to go to work for $450,000 to $500,000, and now we're around $800,000 to $900,000 for a fire apparatus. It's just the cost has gone up, not to mention areas. And then you look at the growth around here and you see what's being put in. Go down 9 Mile Road and you see all the apartment complexes. That takes an aerial, that takes a specialized piece of equipment to make a difference in those areas versus a standard engine. And those things are over $1 million, as we know. So, we need to catch up. We need to get better equipped for the growth that we're seeing in the county, because we are seeing a lot of growth, and to meet the demand of the citizens. We are running more calls. We run, unfortunately, we have house fires two a week most of the time, and the guys get out there. But when those guys run that one fire, let's say they go to Beulah. So we have one structure fire in Beulah, and when you take that one structure fire in Beulah and realize how many stations respond to that, you got Station 6 out of Inslee, Station 4 out of Cantonment, Station 1 out of Bellevue, Beulah, of course, itself. And then you got Ladder 12 coming out of Osceola. That's 5 stations that have pulled equipment away from other areas. And God forbid something happened in those other areas. And then you backfill from those areas. And then once again, it's a trickle effect. Now, it doesn't happen often, but it does happen from time to time where an emergency call comes out where the crews are tied up assisting in other districts. So the additional manpower to help backfill that and not pull from other areas would be a benefit to the citizens. So as I said, everything's the cost is going up, and just the strategy and the technique that we use, we're trying to make it where it's beneficial for everybody and not trying to put a hefty price tag on anything. But when you understand that we are a county fire-based system, that price tag is a little bigger because we have more equipment, more people, more buildings that we have to maintain than just a 20 square mile. City of Pensacola, they're ISO 1. And they're an ISO 1 because they have the city of Pensacola and they have the manpower, the people, and the equipment spread out. And then we talk about, as we've talked about before, like Paradise Beach, we need to look at building additional stations for insurance rating, ISO ratings.
Sure. Yes.
Because back in the day when this fire system was built, it was all volunteers, we know. And it was, Commissioner Bagash has this building over here and he'd like to lease it to the fire department for $1 for 99 years. And we go, all right. And we put it there
Right.
without looking at future growth or what's coming up. And nowadays it's in the wrong area. We need to move it, shift it so we can cover that 5-mile road mile area to make it conducive for everybody to get a good ISO rating. So, those are some things that are critical or things to think about as we go through this process. So
I appreciate that. Now the SAFER grant, a lot of folks are aware we the board voted to go ahead and pursue that. And in the past, you and I had discussed in the past, it was I want to say 75% they would pay for the first year.
it was 100%. It was 100% for the first 2 years of 5 years. So yes.
And then,
This year,
so what is it now? If we are awarded that grant, what would we be looking at?
So the feds pay 75% the first year. So we're on the hook for 25, and then 65 the second year. So we have 45. And then we go down
35.
to 35, I do believe. And then we're on the hook 100% after 3 years. So it's a 3-year cycle now. It's not the 5 years, what we first thought it was going to be.
So it would be 75, 65, 35?
I believe so. I believe. I know it's 75.
First
I
year.
want to say it's 65 and then 35, but I believe so.
All right. And if we are able to secure that loan and the board approves it, how many additional personnel would that result in?
We were asking for 45 personnel, which would help backfill what we call the core. So when those departments are pulled out, we'll have second additional companies that'll stay in district and catch the other calls. That way we're not pulling all our resources to one structure fire, as we said in Beulah. So it would benefit because you would have a crew maintaining in the area while one engine company runs to help with the structure fire. We didn't deplete the area. We still already run calls.
Okay, well, I look forward to having that discussion with the board about that. So at just say, the Ensley Fire Station, if a call went out to the Walmart there, how many guys from that station would leave and how many would stay?
At the station would be empty. So they would all go. So we have an engine company that leaves out of there. They would go to Walmart and then there would be nobody there. So if something else happened in Ensley, either Station 3, Brent, south of Public Safety, or Station 7, depending on the geographic, where it was located in their fire district, would be called in to assist in that area. So it could be, if they get a med call at Walmart right now, so Engine 6 would run, there's nobody at the station. And if a wreck went out right in front of their station, then Brent would have to come up. So
Gotcha.
Engine 3 would backfill.
But if the SAFER grant was realized, how many guys would still be at the?
So we would send one company to the Walmart and the other company would stay at the house. And then if something else popped, they would go handle that. So.
Gotcha. And I'm sure that you guys have done an analysis of the areas where you would need the additional personnel, and some stations would get.
We have. It's what we call the core. So the core is, Ensley, Bellevue, Brent, the bulk of the calls is right here in the center part of the south end of the county. And then
Right.
we have our, exteriors, our outliers, but the core is right here. So yes, sir.
The other thing that's really, I think, very positive in the county right now, and we heard Wes talk about a lot of positive things, but I think our EMS unit is just really doing very well. Dave Torcell, I saw his, he was on that panel with the opioids with Sheriff Simmons and others. Tell us how the EMS units are doing. How are we doing on paramedics and EMTs and hiring? How's all that going?
Absolutely. We've seen an increase in our paramedics. I think we hired 3 more 2 weeks ago that we're going to onboard. And of course, it's a little bit of a process to get them on board. It's not just congratulations, you're hired, go get on an ambulance. So they got to go through our, orientation process, which takes about a month and a half to clear. But when Dave Torcell come on, he was telling me the other day, we had 21 open vacancies for paramedics. And as of 2 weeks ago, he said we are down to 7 open vacancies for paramedics. That's exciting. That is leaps and bounds. So while we're still holding calls, we do hold calls from time to time because it seems like the county on certain days, they all call at one time. And, if I got 20 trucks on the road and there's 25 calls on the board, I can only send a truck, to those 20 calls. But we're still holding calls from time to time, but we're not holding as near as many as we used to. So, the decrease in COVID has helped out because we're still getting the sick calls from here and there. We're still getting
Mhm.
the nonsense calls.
Right.
But we also have some exciting stuff that we're working on that once we dot the i's and cross the t's, I'm going to share with the commissioners. Want to make sure we get this across the finish line to even bolster us more and make our EMS system more robust and relieve some pressure off the dispatchers, 911 dispatchers, and relieve our 911 trucks. It's pretty exciting, the opportunity we had. It come to fruition about 2 weeks ago. We're having meetings this week with some of the people who's going to be influential. We're going after some grant money to help us out.
Good.
So it's not going to
Okay.
cost the county anything. So don't worry about the price tag. We're good there. So
Thank you.
so it's not going to cost the county anything, and even in the long run, but it is a system that we've been envisioning trying to get this up off the ground. And how do we get this going? And the opportunity has arisen that we can jump on board. So when we get this done, I'm excited to tell you guys about it. It's going to help. It's going to help fire. It's going to help EMS. It's going to help dispatch. It's going to relieve some pressure from our medical 911 calls. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and I know dispatchers, they're like the Rodney Dangerfield. They don't get the respect.
They don't.
About the guy, the EMS guy going to say at the car wreck, but I mean, those guys have to take those calls, and I'm sure that's a tremendous amount of stress and pressure and just anxiety that must bring on for those folks. But it was great to see Commissioner Bender and the rest of the board honor them when we gave them the proclamation. But they're not the ones that get heralded all the time like the others. But they're part of the team.
No, you're right. They're the unsung heroes. They're the ones in the back of the room who initiate the response, but nobody, you're right. Those men and women back there in dispatch do a fantastic job. And I appreciate the proclamation for Telecommunications Week. Those guys definitely deserve it. And they definitely deserve the accolades. They're not out in the forefront. And you don't see them out in the field, but they do make a difference to the responders in the field by getting them all the accurate information and getting the right resources to the incident.
Which is critical. Well, one of the things Stefan and I spoke about yesterday afternoon was the budget in EMS, because that's the closest thing we have to an enterprise fund.
Yes.
And I know that the board voted to raise some of those fees that hadn't been raised in like 10 or 12 years. And he showed me, and I see there are some positive trends. But one of the things that was kind of interesting to me, and not to get too technical or into the weeds, but the adjustments that we see, I guess, on the contractually allowed amounts of repayment on some of these plans with Medicare.
Medicaid, right.
Yeah, that's going up pretty significantly. What do you attribute that? Are these insurance companies and these other plans just cutting back on what they will pay for EMS or for transport? I mean, how come that number's growing higher than our revenue?
So when we went for the rate increase, our rate increase for ALS care, for transport care and everything. So our rate went up, but when you go Medicaid, Medicare, they're only going to pay a certain amount.
Right. What do you call that? The contracted amount? Or?
The contracted amount. So we know we're only going to collect so much from those entities. So because our rate increased, but Medicaid, Medicare did not, we're going to get the amount that shows the gap. That was the gap. Exactly.
Okay.
And also we're having, people with insurance who either don't meet their deductible, who don't pay their copay. So those things like Humana and those other insurance, we're still working with those people because that has gone up as well. So we're, people with insurance, and then our people without insurance. We looked at the trend 2 days ago, and it looked like our people without insurance, we have cold callers who call them up and say, look, we don't want to see the collections. Can you pay $20 a month? So we've been doing that as well to negotiate with people to try to get some sort of payment from them. That way it's just not written off. So, but the Medicaid, Medicare it's cut right here. We can only bill so much for those, but our fees have gone up, what we're charging. So it looks like a gap is what it is. So it's always been that way.
No, that's a great explanation. No, that makes sense. So I did notice that it was 4.8 million is what they're projecting on the spreadsheet as the amount that might be uncollectible. And I will say to folks who pay attention and watch this either today online live with us or after it's recorded, that's a much smaller number than we've seen in the past. And that's on higher fees. So that means we're doing better in the collections. I have to assume Tamika and her group and they got the software issues. I mean, we had we were in a Gordian knot with different software. You got to have this one. Now we got to take this one back. Are we back to square on that? And is our billing? It looks like it is.
It is. It is. It absolutely is. And I brought it was ImageTrend. It was the software I brought to you guys last year to purchase. And I told you that we would save money. It would cut costs. It'd be more streamlined, and it has. This is absolutely showing that I didn't give you guys a fib. And when we did the transition, we did it right. We did it trained up. We made sure we answered all the questions that we didn't ask before when we did the first transition. And this has actually worked out in our favor, and it's been a very good transition to go this route. But you bring up an interesting point, because I get a lot of people all the time when they call or fuss about their bill or something, like they go, I pay the MSBU, I pay the taxes. EMS doesn't collect the fire MSBU or MSTU. EMS is a bill for service. So you only pay for our EMS system if you use our EMS system. Taxes don't go into it. It is an enterprise account, which means they generate their own funds, and they try to stay out of the general revenue pot. We don't want to be in the general revenue pot. We don't want to. So EMS makes their own money. So people need to understand that our EMS system, what we collect is how they operate. It is not, we don't get tax money or anything, and they're not part of the MSBU. The MSBU that you see on your property or on your end of the year statement is for fires. That's what the MSBU goes for, and then the MSTU for the sheriff. So, but our EMS, they don't collect any of that. So a lot of people think they do.
Do they really, if they get an ambulance ride, what is that, about $900, $1,000 we charge for that? And then you send them the bill. They say, well, I paid my $125 MSBU. I'm not going to.
They do. They absolutely do. They think they pay taxes. They say, I'm a taxpayer. I pay taxes. I pay for that service. No, you only pay for the service if you use the service. It's a bill for fee service. So people don't understand that. They think that they've paid for the EMS and they should get a free ride. So.
Wow. Well, I'm glad that you're setting them straight, and I'm glad we're collecting as we should. And it's great to see the uncollectible amount, that number going down. But now, I mean, it's understandable that if Medicare and Medicaid, they keep their contracted amount static and we raise our fees, that amount's going to go up. So it went up significantly.
Right. It did.
That's a good explanation. Well, Eric, I know you have an engagement here in about an hour, so understandably you got to go, but thank you for the update. Thanks for all the hard work. I know you guys are working hard. I see your guys out there all the time. In fact, at the beach, there was a kind of a situation the other night. I saw a big issue, and they handled it very professionally. And then a week ago Sunday, there was a big issue out at the beach, and I never really got the backstory on that, but I saw lifeguards, sheriff's deputies, multiple lifeguards in their trucks, and then I saw 2 fire engines, a helicopter. I thought it could be a shark attack. What was?
So we had a water rescue, which involved 4 individuals. It was a situation in which somebody, I think a swimmer got in trouble, so several people went in. So our lifeguards stayed busy, and they did a good job getting out there and identifying. Sometimes on those water rescues, it's chaotic, and it's chaotic because on the beginning of any emergency rescue is trying to understand who, what, when, where, and what's going on. Right. And sometimes by the time all the information comes out, you could be behind the ball. And the situation, we started identifying more and more people coming out that was impacted by this rescue. And then by the time, I think it was 4 total individuals, 2 went by helicopter, 2 went by ground, or 2 refused. They were okay and got treated there at the scene. But all those resources came together. We try to get everything out there, push everything to it. And then when we identify what's really going on, we can start canceling some of the stuff. And I think that was the situation. But it was a bit large scale enough incident. The lifeguards do a fantastic. I think they had, I was out Saturday. I was one of the cars that went across the bridge Saturday. I got to tell you, I got across no problem. But while we was out there, in my 3 hours out there with the guys, they did 4 water rescues.
Wow.
One was a 6-year-old on a flash rip that took him out, and a good situation there. They got him. 2 was other contacts to make sure people weren't in distress. But those guys, they stay absolutely busy on the beach, and I appreciate those guys identifying when we have an issue. And then fire runs to back them up. Our EMS system gets there, and then the helicopter. So everybody, I got to say, public safety works really well together. All the agency, fire, EMS, lifeguard, dispatch. truly are a family here, and it's gotten a lot better. And I appreciate the men and women who work in this building and who have actually bought into what we're trying to do here and change the culture, the previous culture. So
No, I mean, Eric, I got to say, since I've been on the board, it's definitely the best it's ever been from the medical director, from getting all your protocols done, from just, the pay, we've been able to increase the pay.
Yes, sir.
There's a level of professionalism, and I think there's a new culture. It seems as though there's a new culture out there. And I know that's part and parcel of your leadership and Chief Torcell. And then on the fire side of the equation, that's Chief Catrambone. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right.
Catrambone, you got it. So
Okay. But I just appreciate the leadership. So keep up the great work. Thank you for the update, and really look forward to opening that station. Really look forward to doing something with the Navy down there on
yes.
any update on that. Have we got any headway? I know we're working on the appraisal. And for anyone who's watching, this is so we can make up for Station 20, which was closed, resulting in the ISO ratings going through the roof and people having their insurance going up. So staff behind the scenes have been working with the United States Navy on a lease or a long-term agreement to utilize a portion on the east side of Bower Road that's owned by the Navy. So where are we at with that, Eric?
So I talked to Stacy Coker, and she is getting the appraisal right now. For some reason, the Navy needs it this time. They didn't need it last time. So we're trying to understand it. Every time we deal with the Navy, it's a different process. That's fine. We'll jump through the hoops
Right.
and we get it done.
Yeah.
You know, we want to put it on at the Southwest Sports Complex at the entrance, just south of the entrance. We've already got the modular building identified of what we can put in there and what it's going to cost and all that. So we've got all that done. We're just waiting on the Navy, get the appraisal, get it to the Navy. We was hoping we could do the $1 lease for 99 years, as we've done a lot of other property with the Navy. But once we get that appraisal done, we'll get it kicked over to the Navy as quick as we can, identify what we're wanting, and then go from there. So, but the appraisal has been, I do believe, been ordered. So
Fantastic. No, that's great. And I spoke to Steve Opalenik. He's the community planner, liaison officer, CIPLO at the Navy. And when he sent me that email, and also about the, this may not be definitely in your bailiwick, but there's an old golf course that's no longer utilized by Morale, Welfare, and Recreation over at the entrance to Softly. And I know there's a drainage project. Wes, you might have some familiarity with that. I know he asked if the county was still interested in that, working a deal for that. And anytime there's a property that can help with our drainage, I said, yeah, absolutely, 100%. Are you familiar with that project over there off of Softly Field Road with the golf course?
I am familiar with it. Yes,
Okay.
it's been a project. It's been around for a few years. As some projects go, you run into real estate issues or funding issues, but with the Navy coming to us and being willing to be a little more amenable with us right now, that's a project that we could probably pick back up and dust off and move forward with it.
Okay. Well, I told Steve Opalenik, I said, yeah, we definitely want to look at that. And if we can get a deal on that and a deal for the fire station off of Bower, that'd be great. So Eric, I know you got to roll at 7:00. So we're going to jump in with Rodriguez next and talk about it. So have a great day, Eric. We'll talk to you, man. Have a great
all right, thank you, sir. Thanks, guys.
We'll see you tomorrow. Actually, we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.
Right on. All right, Rodriguez Kimbrough, thank you for being here, sir.
All right, good morning. Thank you for having me, sir.
Absolutely, and thanks for all your hard work over there at ECAT. I mean, you guys are doing a great job. And first, I guess, congratulations. Maybe in order, Wes, do you want to set the table? Are we almost there with our union negotiations with these guys?
We are. We met Monday morning or Monday midday, and we tentatively agreed the last outstanding article. And so what will happen from here is Sunday, they will hold a ratification vote. And they are recommending that the membership ratify the contract. So if they do that Sunday, that will be on the next board agenda for a week from tomorrow.
Wow.
For the board, to ratify it, and that'll wrap us up.
Wow. And that would be the last of our contracts. I mean, you will have put them all to bed, right?
Yep, that'll be the last one. And actually, probably the most difficult one, quite honestly, because it is a change for the employees, not the newer employees, but some of the more senior employees that were with First Transit. It is a change because we're finally fully bringing them into county system, if you will. How we accrue leave, holidays, insurances, seniority. I mean, all of it is in there. It was a monumental effort, and I'll have to commend Rodriguez. I'm good at, there's some things that I know, but when it comes to the operations of mass transit, Rodriguez, he knocked it out of the park. He jumped right in. Good communication, good conversation with the union president and leadership. And it was, there was one session we had. When I walked out of the session, I told Rodriguez, I said, I think you did all the heavy lifting today. So it was a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of thought. As it with any negotiation, there's also some give and take. But I have to commend both sides, really. And I hate to say sides. I hate saying that because I feel like we should be one team. But I'll have to commend the union leadership as well as Rodriguez and Nikki Powell, Crystal Dedura, Christian Huell. We have a pretty strong team when we walk into the room. And it's not with any malice or ill intent. It's just trying to do what's best for the county and the employees. And I think that's what this CBA does. I think it's what's best for us, and also it's a good thing for the employees. And it's going to let Rodriguez take the wheel there at Mass Transit and really let him start putting his thumbprint on it. He already is, but it's going to be great for him to be able to really operate in a professional manner.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, congratulations to both of you guys on getting that one done. Now, it sounds to me as if the ball is in the union's court, and hopefully they will vote for the ratification, and then we can shake hands and get to work for the citizens, which is great. I had a list of questions, Rodriguez, but first, tell us about how things are going at ECAT right now, in your opinion. What's the climate like over there?
Yes, sir. Well, first, thank you for having me on. And again, it's all about providing a safe, fair, and comfortable working environment for our employees so that we can provide the best quality service to the citizens. And right now, currently, as we transition in regards to leadership and we look at bringing in the innovative technology that we've never had, of course, we've had some, I'm not going to say some issues or concerns. We've just had growth. And in order for us to be able to drive towards excellence, we're going to have to go through those actual growing pains. And as I continuously tell the employees, I work diligently with the union, my union counterparts, just letting them know if we plan on becoming an award-winning transit agency within the next 3 to 5 years, it's going to take us right now to be in this valley in order for us to be able to get to the mountaintop. And that's actually just our goal. And I see the employees there. They actually hunger and thirst. They want to be great. They just like I do. So as a team, we're just going to keep pushing. We're just going to keep moving forward. And again, as I promised and I've stated to the employees, and I'll state to even the citizens right now who are listening, Escambia County Area Transit, within the next 3 to 5 years, we will be an award-winning transit agency in the state of Florida. And that's just our plan. That's our goal. And that's all we're striving for, driving towards excellence.
Oh, that's awesome. What a great thing to strive to achieve, because, we're not like the biggest of cities, and we're not, a lot of these transportation systems, they serve really dense populations, whereas you have these long runs out to areas that are through lots of rural areas, which make it, a lot less efficient. Tell me in transitioning to that. So we talked a little bit about efficiency before we started the live stream. The criticism from some, and I'm not one of them. I understand the value of the service, the need for it. I mean, there are folks that rely on this service between what you guys do and what ECCT does, or community transportation. Without that, these folks wouldn't get to medical appointments, all these other issues. So we understand, but how do you balance the need to serve the citizens, take them where they need to go, with efficiency and budgetary constraints? How do you all balance that?
So honestly, Commissioner, when talking to other organizations about the efficiency of our system, I can actually say this, and again, it's no knock to past leaderships or any of their goals that they may have had. It's simple. Escambia County Area Transit has done transit by hand, and we haven't done any route analysis and things of that nature since about 2009, 2011. So basically, the economic development and growth of Escambia County, Pensacola as a whole, has grown. So we've been operating a system without technology when there's been large expanded growth. So what we have to do is we first have to get the analytical data to say, this is where we are. And once we get that information to say, this is where we are using our technology, then we can say, this is the direction that we would like to head. And the way we balance those things, I've went back, I've looked at some of the past issues that were brought up about the service and the efficiencies of the service. Yes, I understand large, big buses riding around, long routes, not full. But the way you combat that, transit in about 2010, there were many studies about things like microtransit, more of an on-demand transit service. Those are things that we're looking into. But the first thing that we have to do as an organization, and this is what I challenge the staff every day, we have to first know exactly where we are. We're not going to fluff. We're not going to, if we're not doing something, we're going to say, we're not doing this, but this is how we plan on accomplishing it. And that's just the way we move forward. So anything that the citizens, any question that the citizens had asked, hey, we're going to be transparent because that's the only way that you're going to actually be able to drive towards excellence, is being transparent and seeing where your deficiencies are in order for you to be able to become efficient. So that's what we're looking to do.
And that's a great plan. Now, I will say, I know the board on a number of occasions, we've had discussions and we point back to a document called the COA from the Mass Transit Advisory Committee, I think from around 2011-12 timeframe. And I believe they did a route analysis at the time. And there were a number of the routes that I think one of the routes to NAS Pensacola, there was a couple that just did not have a lot of ridership. And so, obviously, I'm assuming you've looked at those routes from that study and determined, have we consolidated any of the routes? Have we eliminated any of the routes?
Yes, sir. At that time, from that actual study, those two routes that were underperforming, they did eliminate those routes.
Okay.
But after going back and looking at that information, maybe eliminating those routes may not have been the right thing to do because that's what happens, right? And what I've looked at is some of the historical data. Eliminating routes and just adding more stops, that's not what's necessarily the correct thing to do in transit. What we should attempt to do is look for ways to interline those routes. And when I say interline, that's how can I take one route or run and maybe make 2 or 3 out of them in order to make sure that it hits the population in different hubs that may have ridership. And so those are things that we're actually working and we will be doing a route study. And that route study will allow us the opportunity to see what particular routes, because maybe we shouldn't have 1 hour routes, right? Maybe we should have 30-minute routes that actually, go out twice. It's many different ways to actually do this transit thing. And without having the technology, even when they did the route analysis of that route study back in 2011, we didn't have automatic passenger counters. So what you have is if you go out and do a route analysis and you break it down into different sections, you may not get the most accurate data if you don't actually have the automatic passenger counters. You're actually now, what if on that day, let's just say, I don't know, that was a Wednesday. Maybe Wednesday may not have been the best day to actually do that route study.
Right. You have to do it on a multiple times on the same day to get an average that would give you the right number. Because you're right. Maybe one day it's raining, people decide to buy groceries and you know what I mean? They don't ride for whatever reason that day. Let me ask you about the fare box. One of the issues, and again, this is coming from a guy who understanding that not every government service that we provide, we just heard Eric Gilmore talk about things. Not every service that we provide is going to be self-sufficient, self-supporting. Many of the services, most of the services are just, they cost money because it's just whether it be quality of life or doing things with public works, doing things with parks. It's just quality of life. And I tend to look at a thriving city, a healthy city, that some form of public transportation is a part of the quality of life for a thriving, healthy, vibrant community. So I understand we're not always, we're certainly not going to make enough money in the fare box to cover the costs. And we have the gasoline tax and we have a number of other grants that we get. to pay for the equipment. But the fare box number last time I looked, and this is prior to the pandemic, roughly about a little over $1 million a year, in the service itself costing between 7 and 9 million. How has that changed? How has that evolved through the pandemic to where we are now?
Well, our fare box numbers, I can say they're not anything that I would like to boast on, but I can say what we have to do as a staff is we actually have to educate our citizens on what service we provide. The narrative of Escambia County Area Transit sometimes is not on a positive light. And so being that we are Southern, right? And Southerners, we don't want to detach from our cars. And so what we have to do is the first thing that we have to do is attract the younger population, letting the younger population know that when you look at transit isn't just for a population who doesn't have vehicles. It's actually about removing single occupancy vehicles off of the road, which provides a lower emissions in our area, right? So that means you're not only now saving yourself a couple of dollars, right? Having to pay gas, to get to and for from wherever you're going, but you're also saving the ecosystem. Like, you're actually doing a service. It's a lot of things that we can actually sell. And again, that's all about getting out in the public, educating what we offer, and just changing the mindset. And it could be done. It's just all about just taking the time and doing those things.
A lot of folks have said, Commissioner Burgash, you should cut that gasoline tax from 4 cents to 3 cents, which I believe would be that would be a significant blow to ECAT. Not putting you on the spot or anything, but if that happened, how would you compensate? How would you compensate for that loss of revenue if that were to transpire?
So I can say the gas tax, we actually utilize that as our local match. So for all of our grant funding, before the pandemic, there were no 100% paid. Everything, all of our. You
had to match it.
Right. We have a 20% match. We have, we have matches and so we use that gas tax, and that would significantly, hurt our actual system because, we're not a part of the general fund. We utilize that funding from the gas tax to help us thrive. And there are a lot of projects and things that, whether they're capital projects or just operating costs, that requires that local match for us. And I'm hoping that, you all as a board, just continue to support us.
Of course.
Because again, the service that we do provide to the citizens that actually utilize our service, and hopefully the future citizens who currently don't use our service, but will be in the future, we want to provide the best quality service to them.
Hey, Governor Ron DeSantis was in town yesterday. I had the opportunity to attend a roundtable with some other business leaders and community leaders, elected officials downtown for a breakfast with him. And he was talking about CDL drivers and the shortage of drivers and some training programs the state is going to establish, really kind of forward thinking over in Tallahassee. But our drivers, it appears to me that we're very fortunate. We have drivers that have been with us for decades. I mean, how's the staffing? Are we getting any of our drivers getting recruited away or poached, for lack of a better word?
So I can say we have not lost a lot of our senior drivers, and no one really is looking to recruit from us, and which I'm thankful, but I'm hoping that what we can do is we can continue to ramp up our recruiting efforts because CDL drivers with the passenger endorsement, which they need in order to work with us, is right now is rare. And so, and being that we're about 30% short of staff right now when it comes to our bus operators. I'm hoping that we can look into those different programs that are available, and we can push to become, a part of those programs so that we can get those drivers we need. But hey, we're just like everyone else looking for employees, and I'm hoping that if any of the employees there, the team members, if you're there, hey, please don't go anywhere else, because hey, we need.
Don't leave. No, stay here. Hey, well, help me understand. Help citizens who might not understand the intricacies of these various CDL licenses understand this. So a person, an individual working for ECAT that has a CDL with passenger endorsement, could that person go drive a dump truck for one of these hauling companies with that license?
No, sir. So no, sir, they wouldn't be able to. They wouldn't have to actually go and get the actual CDL Class A.
Class A. Okay.
And so someone with an A CDL, they actually have to go and get the passenger endorsement, the B.
If they wanted to ride. Okay. What about the, the over the road 18-wheeler, convoy, the truckers? Did a guy from ECAT with his license go drive one of those trucks?
No, sir. No, sir. He would have, you still have to go and take another test in order to get another endorsement. And so that's just the biggest thing, just the endorsements that they actually have to have.
So the truck driver, the guy who drives a truck for Walmart, he couldn't come work for ECAT with his license. He would have to go take a test or get a different endorsement.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And vice versa.
Is there any kind of like a universal CDL license for everything, or would you have to take each one individually?
You have to take each one individually. No, sir. It's no universal, especially with the passenger endorsement, because again, you have the passengers on there. So.
Okay. Well, Governor mentioned, one of the things he mentioned yesterday is some of these companies are so desperate. They're given $15,000 signing bonuses if you have that CDL. Walmart, to mention them again in this kind of conversation, apparently, according to the governor yesterday in his comments, are starting drivers at six figures, $100,000. I just don't know how. I think about us with ECAT. I think about my former role as a school board member and the challenges they've had with finding school bus drivers. So how do you compete? Or am I talking apples to oranges? Are these two separate things? When you think about drivers, I don't think the public understands. I certainly don't.
Commissioner, I would say this. We are doing another analysis for Public Works, which is our main CDL. Public Works and Escambia area transit are main CDL departments. So I'm doing another analysis to look at pay. I heard somebody tell me yesterday that in their conversations in the community locally, somebody with a Class B that's driving a dump truck is going to make $25 to $27 an hour. Now, we have gone through a long iteration with CDL. We used to have them lined up out the gate at Public Works, and then we were starting at $12.49 an hour. Well, now we raised it to $16.25 an hour, and we still can't. We're just very sparse, the amount of applications that we're able to draw in. So we're doing another analysis on that. And also what we're doing is we've had some discussions with Pensacola State College. And in August, they are going to bring a program online.
Yes. And
so we're having our own, we can train in-house. We can do that and get people ready. And for $500 a person, between $300 and $500, that Pensacola State will test them. And if they pass the test, they get their CDL. And now I'm willing to pay for that, and we're willing to train, but you're going to have to sign something so you're going to stay for 2 years.
Yeah, no, I think that's important. Wes, that's fantastic. What a great idea. Because there are a lot of folks getting out of high school. They're like, what do I want to do? I'm not sure. I don't know. If you would pay to train them, and with 2 years, what do you think? 2 years or 3 years, the expectation that they would have to stay with us?
Minimum two.
Yeah. I think
and they will also train and test for the bus operators, with a passenger endorsement. And that's kind of how usually we come in and we're asking for a minimum Class B, and then Class B will let you drive anything with an air brake as far as a dump truck or anything like that. If you're driving like an 18-wheeler, you're gonna have a Class A. If you're driving our fuel truck, you gotta have a hazmat endorsement. In a bus, you gotta have a passenger endorsement. So, the thing is today, if you have a CDL license, you got a paycheck.
Yeah,
And
that's amazing. Hey, let me ask you this, Wes, and then I'm gonna get right back to Rodriguez. But what does it cost at PSC, and how long does it take? Two important questions to get that.
I think it's 25. If you're just coming in off the street without any, representation or without any
Student loan.
somebody endorsing you or something like that, it's about, I want to say it was about $2,000 to 2,500, and it's about an 8-week program.
8 weeks.
But what we're trying to do is we have some trainers in-house. We've done in-house training for a long time, and the standards and the specifications, qualifications have gotten more and more difficult every year. So we can train in-house. We spent 20 grand some years ago and built our own testing range out at Public Works, and it's been certified by the state. So, we've put a lot of effort into it, but if we can get this off the ground, we're hoping to turn the tide a little bit. This in conjunction with possibly higher pay. We may not, if I've got 40 vacancies, I may, reallocate some of the funding away from 10 of them in order to increase the pay a bit,
It's a great idea. I think we should point out right now, we did that for corrections. We had a problem. We have an ongoing problem. The pay wasn't right. We eliminated 30 positions, right?
Yep.
We eliminated them. We took that money, which would have been used lapse funding to pay for overtime or whatever the case might be, to increase pay for the existing officers and new officers. That's called responsible governance. I mean, if you leave these phantom positions out there, collect that revenue every year, and then still don't fill those positions, you're not doing an honest budget. So I look forward to going through the budget this year and doing it that way. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think all of us would support that. But jumping back to you, Rodriguez, let's talk about the COVID effect on us. So the masks are now optional for riders of ECAT. Is that right?
Yes, sir. The masks are now optional, but we still provide masks if we have individuals who choose to wear masks.
Okay.
And we still strongly encourage mask wear, because COVID-19 is still prevalent in the community.
Sure.
We want to do our best to mitigate that. But I'm hoping that if any citizen is watching, hey, if you choose to wear a mask, hey, I'm thankful for you. And if you choose not to wear a mask, again, that's your decision. And I'm still thankful for you as well.
What's interesting about masks, a lot of people, no one really likes wearing them. I mean, I had to wear them for the last 2 years in my day job. It was a DOD directive, so we just had to. But I will note, and a lot of people say, well, they don't work. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but I know this. I didn't have a cold. A lot of people have said, hey, I had a lot fewer colds the last couple of years, if you didn't catch COVID. And I think so there's probably something to wearing the mask. I wanted to ask you about the physical bus barriers. We talked about that a number of years ago, and Mike came to the board, Union President Michael came to the board and wanted them. And I know that you guys got some. And how many of the buses now have those enclosures for the driver's safety?
Okay, so protective bus barriers. I know in 2018, the union ATU local 1395 union president, Michael Lowry, he was a strong advocate because there was an incident there in Central Florida, where one of the bus operators got harmed on a bus, and it ended up being a fatality. And so, move forward to the pandemic. The pandemic occurred, and of course, protective barriers. How do we protect the drivers? So we got the COVID-19 sneeze shields. That's what I call them, sneeze shields, which of course that's a lower cost option, but it didn't provide the assault protection. And so, again, that large project, it's it's exactly a $317,763.44 project. And that's just to receive the barriers. And with the shipping and everything, of course, with COVID-19, the supply chain management, because the supply chain going through some of the issues they had, it delayed it for a while. But right now, currently, on all of our vehicles, We have the actual barriers for all of the vehicles. We're actually working to get those vehicles installed, because that's actually some of the hiccups, is getting the protective barriers installed. And also, one of the other main concerns, if these protective barriers, the drivers actually have to be trained with these protective barriers. And the reason why they have to be trained, because again, if I'm accustomed to just open road driving right now, no extra glare or anything like that, because again,
Gotcha.
another system.
The view, it changes the view a little bit. Okay, that's understandable. Well, I can tell you, I can't wait till all those are on. I read the account of what happened to that gentleman down in Tampa, and it was a horrible situation. And I know it's not an isolated incident. Sometimes folks get beat up. I would just say that, the folks that are real naysayers on public transportation, many of them, I guess, have probably never used it, probably not familiar with it. But having traveled in many other countries, living overseas, if it's done right, like you said earlier, it can help. It can take a burden off the roadways. And if it's really a good system, even some cities in America, New York, I was there a couple of years back, and it's just a part of daily life. So I know we don't have any kind of rail system here for passengers, but we do have a bus service. So I look forward to continuing to make it as efficient as possible, knowing that it will never be self-sufficient. There's some people that go, well, it ought to pay for itself. Look, a lot of government services don't pay for themselves. Look at the post office. We have to feed that beast every year, but it's still nice to get the mail every day, right? And the Civic Center is always going to be losing money. We try and trim the losses as best we can. We'd love to make it revenue neutral, but I say all that to say I do believe the current board, with maybe one exception, understands the value of what you do. So, and I hate to say it, but an hour just went by like that. But because I'm going to have you back, and maybe in about a year. I love the idea that you've got a goal. It sounds like you got a goal in a couple of years. Did you say 3 years? Within 3 years, restate that goal. I want to hear that again.
Within 3 to 5 years, the Escambia County Area Transit will be an award-winning transit agency. We will be within 3 to 5 years.
All right. Well, very good. Well, keep up the hard work, and thanks for getting up early and sharing a lot of this information with us. And I look forward to having you back again. And Wes, as always, thank you for getting up early and for the updates and for all your hard work. I mean, you're coming up on your 1 year anniversary here pretty quick. It's hard to believe. It goes by quick, doesn't it?
And it hit me this past week, and it's been a extremely fast year. It really has been.
It goes by fast. Hey, time flies when you're having fun, right?
That's it.
Right on. Well, hey, appreciate your guys' time this morning, and hope you guys have a great rest of the day. And we'll probably see you both tomorrow at the meeting.
Yes, sir.